my mouse won't work. And then we are live. What's up, wrestling fans? I had a bit of a trimming mishap, so you get you get this. What's happening, Kevin?
I'm glad we got this because it has been a while since we've done this. A whole year, sort of. I mean, it is a new year, so happy new year, and hope everyone had a great holiday. We were on holiday, Doug. It's been about a month since our last show, and we are coming in hot for 2026 by presenting our annual award show. Tonight's show, if you haven't ever checked in with us before and you're watching because you want to see about the best of wrestling in 2025, we have a different format tonight. We are just going to give out a whole bunch of awards in different categories. Play along at home. We're just handing them out. The tux still fits. I got the red carpet here. I mean,
wow. I got Wu-Tang.
That's got a shaving mishap in Wu-Tang, so we're ready to go. What do you say, Doug? Let's just hit the ground here running before we get to the actual awards. We always recap the prior year by picking our three biggest stories of the previous 365 days. Doug,
here we go.
I'm going to count down with mine. So I'm going to say for myself, my third biggest story of 2025 in wrestling was Hulk Hogan passing away. There is no question that Hogan could be divisive, but the one thing about the Hulkster that is hard to argue is that he is, in fact, the biggest, most famous wrestler that the business has ever seen, and therefore his death at a relatively young age was a major story of 2025.
I have to agree totally with that. Love him, hate him, indifferent to him. I'm not sure if you could actually be indifferent towards the Hulkster. I think you either loved him or you hated him.
Yeah.
But
there was no in between. And his passing is just odd because Hulk Hogan was always there. I mean, that's my third in my top three stories.
That's a strong third, a strong third.
How about yourself?
I would actually also have to go. I'm just going to copy off your paper.
So would you like me to go to number two and see if
why don't you go right ahead? Because
I'm going to say
I have like 20, about 25 slides in a slide deck, and none of them have top stories.
We'll go with my top stories. How about that?
Okay, awesome.
Number two, I'm going to say the John Cena farewell tour. And I mean, the John Cena farewell tour included going. Are you there?
I'm here. You kind of hiccup there. Was that me or was that you? I don't know what's going on.
We're both here now. I couldn't quite tell.
Okay.
I was getting ready to give my second top story of 2025, and that was the John Cena farewell tour.
Yes. That is also mine, oddly.
And the business's that is odd. The business' most shocking heel turn. I mean, even if you look at just from the marketing and merchandising opportunities that this was produced, have you ever seen a better orchestrated money-making farewell than the year-long ride that John Cena and WWE gave us? It was not perfect. Some of the matches were a little rough, especially at first. The heel turn did not turn out well as it turned out at the end of not necessarily all his fault, but everything about the whole year was memorable from the moment that he announced his farewell, all the way through that big, again, the most shocking heel turn in history. And then that smile of acceptance as he tapped out in his last match. Just all of that was kind of a gift to wrestling in 2025.
Yes.
And the top story in my mind, and I think Doug's, for 2025. And it is a bit of a, not to do a Jey Uso here and running it back, but I think last year I had as my top story that the death of traditional cable, like the Raw not being on cable, moving to Netflix. which was a huge story. So this year it's even broader than that. I'm just going to say the changing media landscape of pro wrestling was the biggest story of 2025. First Monday in January last year was Raw debuting on Netflix. Also in January last year, right at the start, we had AEW moving their content, their streaming content to Warner Brothers Discovery's HBO Max. We ended the year with TNA announcing a huge level up by going and starting on AMC here in a few weeks. And let's not forget, in between, the whole WWE Peacock era came to an end as WWE switched everything in a huge deal, moving their PLEs to ESPN. So there's never been more wrestling to watch or more ways to watch it, and it's almost hard to keep up with where everything is now moving to, settled at, where the archives are, where the historic content is, how to watch all the PLEs. It's just so dynamic right now, these big changes. And if as Netflix and Paramount battle it out over Warner Brothers Discovery, the volatility of this wrestling media landscape, not just wrestling media, the whole media landscape, is likely to be a huge story in 2026 as well.
Hey, the adjacent to that, the biggest story for me anyway is that I now have ESPN everything. If there's anyone,
who would have ever thought?
Any kind of sports ball you ever want to watch, I probably have access to it now.
That could be a big story, and the least likely man to ever own, have a ESPN plus sports package. It would be Doug Hager. So
this guy,
that guy right there.
Right here. That's me.
Doug, what do you say? Let's hand out some trophies.
Let's do it, because I've got a slide deck and I've got a spreadsheet. I've got all kinds of stuff. I have so much information. I'm actually confused about what to pull up. It's a little confusing, just a little for me.
Why do you say let's do this? Announcer of the year first.
Man, so this is tough for me. This is tough. So tough. All right, I got to give some love to Corey Graves. I don't know that Corey gets enough love, and I do really have to give some love to Corey Graves, just because he's not Booker T. I mean, Corey's good on his own and deserves a bigger, better spot. I would love to see him permanently in NXT because NXT is so awesome with Corey and not Booker.
Yeah. Hey. If we gave a trophy for worst announcer, I think we know it would go to Booker T. I'm going to go a little bit outside of the box with my runner-up pick because technically he's not a full-time announcer, but he spent so much time at the desk this year, and he adds so much when he does. So I just want to be sure to recognize Don Callis. He usually joins the announce team when a member of the Don Callis family is wrestling, but there's so many people in that faction now, it seems like he's on the announce desk all the time.
This is true.
But I miss Don is just one of the best heels working right now, and he brings that heat to the announce microphone, and I just kind of miss the days when there was a clear babyface announcer and a clear heel announcer. Think Gorilla and Bobby. Even great color commentators like Wade and Corey, they go back and forth with heel tendencies, and occasionally they call it down the middle. And Don Callis makes no such efforts at fairness. He just up and roots for his guys, lies, doesn't see the. I mean, just total Bobby the Brain, old school Jerry Lawler.
Yes, very much. I could almost cosplay as Don right now too if I could just have the scar up here. Well, I do have the scar, but it's going across instead of up.
So someone went to the side with the screwdriver instead of
screwdriver. Yeah.
I honestly would like to see Don as a permanent member of the announce team. Not that AEW is short on announcers, but he is that good that I wish he was a permanent member.
Yeah, love me some Don for sure.
How about your top pick for best announcer of 2025?
So you just mentioned him, not Don, but I've got I've got to give some acknowledgement, and I hate to leave Nigel completely out in the cold this year, but Barrett has really got on my radar and done a lot of good. And you can see, even when he's working like that color heel, that he can continue to develop the story and cover for those like any good uh, announcer was going to do. They're going to cover for the mistakes in the ring. They're going to help enhance the story and help keep things moving. And Wade has really come a long way. Both Corey and Wade, I was really questioning once upon a time what either one of these guys was doing at the desk, but clearly somebody has an eye for that talent that I just do not have, because both these guys have truly come into their own. So, this year I'm giving it to Wade.
And think about what Wade went through this year in the with all the sort of controversy between him and Corey that was not really a competition, but just something that was, I mean, what is he supposed to do other than go out and do his job? And he didn't let the drama distract him from going out there and performing at the highest level. I also have, I think, someone who is performing at the highest of levels all the time, and it's not really a sexy choice or really a surprising choice, but I just can't deny Excalibur is the best play-by-play guy in the business, and just kind of year in, year out is the best play-by-play guy in the business. That remained true in 2025 with just another strong year of performances from Excalibur. So he gets the nod from me this year.
Yeah, Excalibur is definitely great. I think I've called Excalibur out, and I've given a lot of AEW love throughout the years, and I went straight up WWE this year, all around.
Let's see which promotion you go for when we start talking about breakouts, because I honestly feel like there's a lot of good choices for this award, both for runner-up and winner, just because there were a lot of people who really took it to that next level, as they like to say, this year.
Yes.
How about a runner-up for you, Doug?
There's my spreadsheet. I found my spreadsheet. Sorry.
There we go.
I have like 15 different things. So for my runner-up, and this is a difficult one, and I really don't even think of Kyle Fletcher as in that like runner-up rookie category anymore, but Kyle Fletcher's had a really, really good year. Last year was really good too, and he continues that momentum. He's not enough to get, completely and be like my number one guy for, breakout, but, he's had a really good year. So I got to give some nods to Kyle this year.
You definitely don't have to be a rookie to finally get a breakout. Right. I mean, to that point, my runner-up is someone who, was already a big star internationally. But Stephanie Vaquer, did you realize that Vaquer didn't debut on the main roster until June? I looked it up. It was June.
She actually chose to go to NXT first to work on her English, which is admirable. That she knew she wasn't ready for main roster yet. I think she recognized wrestling wise, ring wise, yeah, she was absolutely ready. But promo wise, she wasn't quite there yet, and wanted to polish up on her English and learn the WWE way. So
I just feel like because of the star that she is, that she's been part of Raw longer than 6 months. She was only at NXT for 8 months prior to that. So, in other words, in a little over a year, she's skyrocketed from debuting at NXT to work on her English to becoming the women's world champion and a big star who is so over with fans. Stephanie Vaquer had one of the best years in 2025 of anyone who took it to that next level, and therefore she's my runner-up.
It's a good runner-up. It's an excellent runner-up.
Doug, I'm curious about this one, who you have, because again, there is so many choices that we could go with for people who broke out in 2025.
So many, and this one is, not due to Booker T's excellent commentary. It's in spite of it that this kid got on my radar. But Javon Evans, come on, man, come on,
yeah,
Javon Evans.
The young OG is absolutely one of my favorites. I was hoping that whoever you named would be somebody that that I wanted to give some, because I think Javon Evans had
Yeah.
just an unbelievable breakout this year. Saul
Mhm.
Ruka had an unbelievable
Yes.
breakout this year.
Yes, she did.
Megan Bain. I mean, who was Megan
Mhm.
Bain a year ago? And I mean,
Right.
there really was a lot of younger talent who got on, a streak this year. But
Mhm.
my selection, my winner for breakout is your runner up. I'm going Kyle Fletcher.
Okay. All right. That's cool.
Man, Kyle Fletcher had been on the AEW roster since 2023, but it was 2025, to your point, where he really broke out.
Mhm.
Before, he was a tag team guy, kind of an anonymous background member of a larger faction. And in 2025, he became a main eventer and just one of the best
Yeah.
in ring workers in the business. He had great matches with the likes of John Moxley and Will Ospreay, and
Mhm.
that feud with Mark Briscoe was just
Mhm.
classic, one of the best feuds of the year. Pretty much any time he stepped into the ring, it was must watch. I didn't do the count. I wish I had, but I almost guarantee you, Doug, if we went back through all the episodes of the Two Bros
Uh-huh.
Wrestling Show and Match of the Week, I bet you Kyle Fletcher and maybe Javon Evans are the two names that
Yeah.
pop the most for Match of the Year. Whenever they got into the ring, whoever the opponent, it was very likely the best match of the entire week.
Yeah, no doubt there. Now, if we can just see Javon Evans and Kyle Fletcher go at it at some point in the future. Hello, WrestleMania main event.
That bring me chills just thinking
Right?
about.
I got the goose pimples too with that one.
Well, and with that one, let's okay. I was going to say let's go to the one negative one that we have if we have the breakout, but let's save that one. I want to go from breakout to comeback because some folks are off the radar completely, and then they have a good year, or they return, or they reinvent themselves. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it is the business of reinvention, and there were several good choices for this one as well. I feel maybe
So
not
in
as
this
many,
one,
but definitely some.
and this one's one of those. I wrestle with so many of these because and even with this one, there's only one superstar for me that keeps coming to mind, and it's not so much about a comeback, but more of a reinvention. And then, unfortunately, we lose her. We don't lose her, and it's not an unfortunate reason why she's gone right now, because she's gonna be a mama, and that's great. But Naomi Trinity
Uh,
Fatu had
uh,
the best reinvention, bar none, this year. It was great to see Hill Trinity, Hill Naomi in
yeah.
WWE working, and even her promo where she has to drop the title and walk away. It just chef's kiss. I
No
can't
one,
think of a better reinvention than that.
no one ever announced that they were about to be a mother, and then managed to get so much heel heat.
Kind of promo,
Got a promo.
kind of
No,
Hill promo, yeah.
and her, when you think about, and I'm glad that you actually, I think you corrected yourself as if you misspoke, but Trinity is right because it was Trinity that reinvented
Mhm.
herself
Yes, 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 yes.
elsewhere that allowed her to come
Right.
back and be Naomi. And I
Yes.
think the fact that just the circumstances under which she left,
Mhm.
um, and then to return the way she did, that is a great call. A great call. My runner-up I have as someone who was a surprise return to the Royal Rumble. You mentioned maternity. This person was out for 2 years because of taking some time off to raise a child. Alexa Bliss. She showed very little ring rust, resumed her
Mhm.
spot at the top of the card as if no time had passed. And by
Right.
the end of the year, she's a world tag team champion with her friend of me, Charlotte Flair, become one of the year's most surprising tag teams. Actually, they would definitely be in a running when we get to it for tag team of the year, just because
Oh yeah.
of how good they've been. So
Yes.
my runner up is Alexa.
Little Miss Bliss. Love it. Excellent
I'm
choice.
wondering here if we might have the same comeback of the year.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I want to.
Okay, so I'll preface by saying no, she didn't have many matches. but there was not a bigger comeback story in 2025 than AJ Lee returning to WWE after being away for a decade. It was the biggest return story since her husband's
Absolutely.
WWE homecoming.
Yeah, it's the thing I thought would never happen. Of course, I
No,
also thought CM Punk in WWE would never happen. And then Punk being in WWE for what, 2 years at that point? Yeah, okay. If AJ was coming back, she would have been back by now. Yeah, okay. She's wrestling, involved in wrestling, but wasn't she like a WoW producer or commentary,
right.
something like
Yeah, she
that?
was behind the
So
scenes.
she's scratching that itch, no need to get back into it, no real desire. Oh, wait, here we go. Yeah.
I mean, yes, you could say that, with Punk, there was the animosity that had to be overcome and it made it surprising.
Mhm.
AJ didn't maybe have that, but what Punk did have that AJ didn't is that he was in the ring with AEW before returning to WWE. She just comes in
Mhm.
cold as if like 10
Right.
years had been no time at all.
None.
And
Nothing.
still, yeah, still good on the mic and still good in the ring. So I'm hoping that as good as she looked in the limited action she had, that we see a lot more of her in 2026. I'm sure as Mania seasons approaches, you're going to see more of AJ Lee.
I certainly hope so, because I don't like her attraction schedule. She, Roman Reigns,
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar are all running on the same schedule right now. I want to see more AJ.
More AJ in 2026.
Yes, please.
Doug, we can't just talk about all the great things that happened this year. There are things that maybe missed the mark as well. It is the one semi negative category, and we're blaming not necessarily the performer, we're blaming the writers, the producers, the promotion. We're going to talk the most misused. Sometimes this has been really, really easy as there's so many candidates. The hard part is picking one. I do feel like overall that there were less people maybe this year that I would say were completely misused, but there's still some in my mind. Do you have a runner up?
Oh god. And here's where things get hard again. Because in my mind, there's so many misused talents out there. And, I had other people like penciled in, and then I watched I caught some wrestling news this morning, and I was like, oh, that is unfortunate. And yes, that so Tommaso Ciampa is almost finished with his WWE contract. He apparently is not resigning. I'm not sure if it's a time away from wrestling. I'm going to take a break.
Wow, that's never. I hate to hear that about
But
Champa.
but with Ciampa, he's either leaving or he's leaving promotions. Either way,
Yeah.
he hasn't had the best year. I mean, he's not been like white hot in quite a while. He's having an okay run, and I'm going to say, there's so much you could do with the Black Heart. So much you could do with the Black Heart.
More
So,
than comedy.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. So for me, there was a moment about a year and a half ago where I thought Daniel Garcia was being groomed to be the next Bryan Danielson. He was the whole Blackpool, Combat Club
Mhm.
storyline. It almost felt as Bryan was on his way out that Daniel was elevated to that technical workhorse that's going to be able to go out there and perform at a high level and move up into the main event. And we fast forward, 18 months, 19 months, somehow that angle didn't get him to that next level. And instead he's just kind of a background member of the Death Riders. He's below Willer Yuta on the depth chart. I mean, and I love Yuta. It's just like, what happened?
I know. Yeah.
I don't know if it was getting sidetracked with his, Daddy Magic and a feud that no one necessarily wanted to see that lasted longer than most people thought that it should. But it just
Right.
feels like Daniel Garcia was right there, and now he's kind of nowhere.
Yeah. No, this is so true. Actually, I saw Stevie Richards talking about him the other day. Stevie Richards is talking about him being the dancing guy, right?
Yeah.
So he got over with Stevie Richards because Stevie Richards remembers him as the dancing guy, but remembers nothing else about him. I'm like,
That's not good.
That's not good. That's not
No.
good. I mean, and Steve Richards still pretty in tune with the product across the board. He's not, a diehard AEW, all the major programs across all the companies, but still in tune. But this is what he remembers about Daniel Garcia. He's the dancing guy.
Which
Not
is
good.
fine if there's something else that you build to from that. But that was sadly about where he peaked. And
Mhm.
that's not where you want to peak.
No, it is not.
Doug, who do you have that's actually more misused than the two people that we just talked about?
I want to throw Miro Rusev out there as
Uh,
my number one guy because everywhere he's been recently, it's or honestly at this point, regardless of what year it even is, Rusev in AEW, Rusev in WWE, or Miro in AEW, Rusev in WWE. Come on, this dude is a beast and could be booked in so many awesome ways, but he's just not. I don't know why. He's a mid Carter at best across the board, and I think he could be so much more, man.
when he came back to WWE, I really thought that maybe
Right,
under the new regime, they finally realized their mistake of where they went wrong the first time, and then watched
right.
how AEW went even worse with the
Worse,
whole,
yeah.
yeah, the best man gimmick
Gamer,
and
best
all of that.
man. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I do believe, and this is a dubious distinction, Doug. I do believe, though, that Miro is the first uh, individual to win our most misused on multiple occasions in
Mhm.
multiple years now. So,
Oh man,
what is
I
it
know.
about Miro that they
What
can't get right?
I mean, is he a pain behind the scenes? I don't know. I've never really heard anything one way or another. I mean,
Kind of hear
maybe
that
he
he's a
is.
pretty good, laid back
Right,
dude, you
right,
know,
right.
but
So
something is definitely not working in his favor.
mm-mm.
So you mentioned, like with your Champa choice, that you had watched a little bit and
Mhm. It caused
checked
me
out
to
some
pivot
news on
there.
Friday.
Yeah.
I did a scratch because after Friday watching SmackDown, one of the people that I was going to give it to as misused ended up winning the United States Championship, and that was Julia. Because I feel like overall, she and Vicaire should have a pretty similar
Mhm.
trajectory. They came into
Yes.
NXT around the same time. They moved on because of the big
Mhm.
reactions they were getting in NXT. They did everything they could there real fast, and then that's where it kind of diverged. And
Right.
Julia just, yes, she's had a couple title runs now, but the fan support is not there in the way it is with the care or that it was in NXT. And I really feel like as much as I like Kiana James and loved her in NXT, that her as Julia's mouthpiece, I mean, Julia got over on her own. I don't know that she needs Kiana James. It seems like a
So,
wrong chemistry between those two. It's just not they don't feel like a team.
and here's the thing. I think WWE has this very poor track record with excellent Japanese talent. I mean, Kabuki Warriors, Asuka. I mean, the Empress of Tomorrow was undefeated for like what 500 and some days. Dropped her title in NXT to come to the main roster, and then wasn't the same Asuka. Nobody was ready for that Asuka, right? You
No,
bring Kairi
nobody.
Sane up. Our cute little like Pacific pirate princess, and I don't know. It's just even Shinsuke. I mean,
Even Shinsuke.
remember
Yeah.
remember how excited we were for Shinsuke AJ in WWE? We were expecting like, Tokyo Dome. We didn't. We got like, the Civic Center downtown here. Really. I mean, we
Yeah.
got a
I don't know
so
what it is about the lost in translation thing with WWE, but they don't tend to do well with their Japanese talent,
yeah.
and that is some of the most talented wrestlers on earth. It comes from the land of the rising sun. They seem to do well in AEW and other
Yes.
places,
Yes.
but not WWE.
No, I don't know. I mean, maybe honestly, maybe it becomes some part of where so many of the EVPs that founded AEW are
Uh,
from New Japan.
Yeah,
maybe they
and
get,
understand that wrestling culture.
yeah, yeah. I mean, of course,
Yeah,
you could
that's a good thought.
look at, but I just think WWE has a worse track record with all of their Japanese wrestlers, and Julia's in that mess now.
Well, as I said, I was going to have Julie on my list. I saw her win
Oh
the
yeah,
title.
whoops.
No, I do think that overall she's misused, and it's weird to say for someone. And as I started to try to think, like, okay, should I maybe find another choice? I did, and it's someone that's probably had a better year than Julia and is way more over than Julia. And I'm still going to take a big swing on this one
All
because
right.
just there aren't many wrestlers who sold as much merch, got better crowd reactions than this man in 2025. Still, I'm calling main event Jey Uso as my pick for most misused wrestler of the year, and I'll explain
Miss
why.
is it, let me. No, I'm not going to steal your thunder because I think I maybe know why. Go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
well, I know that we had conversations. A lot of people did. Some thought he was not a Rumble winner,
Mhm.
like he was not worthy of a Mania main event. But that's not the whole story as why he's my pick here. I was tentatively okay with it at the time. I like a good surprise. When John Cena got knocked out there at the end, yes, everyone thought Cena was going to win that Royal Rumble. He didn't. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Let's see where they go with this.
Mhm.
That's the thing. Yes, he's way over. Yes, the yeeting is way over. It's a good visual. The matches can be hit or miss. The thing is that WWE desperately needs to make main eventers that aren't the same handful of guys that are not 40s pushing 50s. Like
Right.
they need
Right.
younger main event guys. I was fine with the idea of it and was even open to, like, let's see what they do with Jey. By the end of the year, though, you didn't make a main eventer. He's just back down now as a tag
Right.
team wrestler again. So
Yes, it's like, you know what? It looks better on Cuz. I don't want the
yeah,
championship title anymore.
right.
What? What?
So whether you look at it as he wasn't the guy and that's why he was misused, or here's what WWE tried to do, and ultimately they didn't do it because they just shuffled him back to the big card where he came as if it didn't happen. And whichever way you look at it, I feel like despite how over he is, that Jey Uso was very misused this year, just miscast totally, or
Mhm.
misbooked, or given up on. If you're going to go all
Yes.
in, stick with it and push that all the way, into the future. Make sure that the fans get behind what you're trying to do, and they just punted.
Yeah, it really is like, we pushed and we pushed and we pushed and we're like, yeah, okay, we get it. Our experiment's over. We're done.
Yeah, experiment. It seems like they just
Yeah.
experimented, and that's where you can take someone who's a big star and still misuse them because it was a failed experiment. If the
Yeah.
idea was we're going to make Jey Uso truly main event Jey Uso, he is not. Now,
Hmm.
whose fault is that? You could point some fingers at him, but I think the most of it would have to go to the promotion. So obviously the reactions are there.
And you got him over, which, think about it. Roman was not over for the longest time, and we were force fed Roman
Yeah,
Reigns
steady diet.
forever. Steady diet forced down our throats for years and years and years until we all acknowledge him as our tribal chief willingly, right?
Willingly.
But
That
I
let's
guess
let's see if you had as much difficulty as I did with this one. It's not the golden era of tag team wrestling. Let's just
it's
be
not.
honest about it. There are some great tag teams out there, though, so it might not be a thick field of candidates, but I do feel like, especially with the addition of some pretty good teams on the women's side, that I, was able to pick two here. Do you have a runner-up? And I'm curious as
I
if we have any
do.
crossover.
I do. Well, you're going with women. There are no women on my list, but I got to say, the runner-up is the tag team I didn't know I wanted, didn't know I needed, but completely love them. Especially coming up towards the back end of last year, 2025. AJ Styles and Dragon Lee. AJ Lee, the tag team. Love it. Did not know I wanted it. Did not know I needed it. Can't believe I went so long without it. So I got to give it to them as my runner-up.
Okay, here's what's hilarious. I thought you were about to say the same thing I was, and then you
Okay.
went with another great tag team calls along the same lines of who knew
Uh-huh.
that I needed it. I'm going with Brodito. Who
Yes,
knew
that's another
that
great one. Yes.
Bandito and Brody King would be such a great tag team and get over the way that they did? The style differences between those two, I think, actually make them more interesting. They just,
Hmm.
they were put together on a one-off, but then got over and had a great run that made them my favorite AEW tag team in 2025.
Yeah, yeah. That it was a great tag team. I mean, because first of all, we have the House of Black that dissolves, and then we got Malachi Elias Black, whatever he is. He's had so many spooky names. Alistair, that's it.
Elias, but
Anyway, that's Walk with Elias Black.
yeah,
And then poor Buddy Murphy gets injured, right? So yeah, you got Brody just kind of going, well, okay, what do I do? Just tossed them together, and it was a great tag team too.
it was a
Absolutely.
great run, a great run. Um, how about your tag team of the year for 2025?
So I give it to these guys because of the potential that they have coming into the new year as they have
Oh,
kind of reestablished themselves on the back end, or at least to me, reestablished themselves and got their footing once again. And I've got to give it to FTR. FTR is back, baby. They are back. They are there and ready to roll with things again.
for me, man, it was kind of like the Excalibur choice. Like it's like, how do you not? I mean, there's just year in, year out, they are just objectively the best in the ring performers. Um, I'm going to a different direction though, and one of the
Okay.
uh, few honors I gave this year outside of the major two. So check, don't it's the Hardys. I mean, I can't believe I'm giving my tag team of the year to the Hardys, but it was a resurgent year for TNA. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that there was a late career resurgence for the Hardys. The Hardys put
I
on
get it.
memorable matches all year long, man. Um,
I get a text. Hold on. Speaking of the Hardys, hold on. Where is this? Okay. Yeah. Can we please put the Hardy brothers back in the big leagues? This is BS watching them in the minors. This was from Thursday night from a friend of mine. Totally not feeling the whole TNA thing with the Hardys. I'm like, dude, you got to understand this. Oh, are you froze? Am I froze? What's happening? Am I froze? Are you froze? You're froze on my end. Okay, you're moving now.
I think
Uh,
okay.
oh
Yeah, you
no.
froze on my end too. We are having some
Okay, okay,
connection difficulties. Um,
okay. But
what
this
if
text.
you wouldn't mind repeating that the text that you
Okay,
said?
so this text I got on Thursday night. TNA Thursday night. Friend of mine
Yep.
text me. Says, "Can we please put the Hardy brothers back in the big leagues? This is BS watching them in the minors." Had to explain. No, no, no. It's a. Did you freeze again, or did I freeze again? Am I not going to tell this
Yeah.
story? I am not going to get to tell this
No, I'm
story.
hearing you.
Okay.
I'm hearing you.
Okay.
I'm
But
agreeing
I was
with you, man.
but I was like,
Your
look,
friend's
dude. It's
right.
like, yeah, they do need to get back up, but they are mentoring the next generation of WWE stars while they're in, the minor leagues in TNA.
Well, that's the thing, man. They didn't just dominate one promotion. They
Right.
dominated multiple promotions and had memorable matches all year long. They had that great send off with their
Oh, with
longtime
Dudley.
rivals.
Yes.
There was that four-way ladder match at TNA Sacrifice that included First Class, the Nemeths, the Rascals. Definitely worth seeking out. And that was on the TNA side where the Hardys ruled. If you look at what they did in NXT, they had matches that were
Hmm.
fantastic with Fraxium, the No Quarter Catch Crew, Dark State. At one point, they were double champions. They were both the NXT and the TNA World Tag Team Champions. It was a surprising and welcome return for the legends, man. The
Yes.
Hardys really had a great year, and who would have thought this many years after their
Right.
prime, really, that would be true? But it's true.
That's great.
Doug,
Ooh.
Female Wrestler of the Year. There's never been a better time for female performers.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
you got some choices to make. You're struggling. I can tell you're struggling with this choice.
So many. So, my runner up could have been a breakout. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. I wanted to save her for this because not that a breakout isn't like a big award, but I wanted to give this to her as the runner up for this instead of making her my breakout of the year. But Saul Ruka, man, Saul. Tell me if I will fist fight you in the parking lot at Walmart right now if you dare tell me there is a better looking finisher in all of professional wrestling. Because that soul snatcher, come on.
No, and for someone who hasn't really been in the business that long, it is amazing how good she already is. The women's division on NXT is ridiculous. You could just honestly put the men on a separate show and just do NXT as the female talent and your Kalani Jordans and your Lola Vice and just on and on. Ren Sinclair and I mean so many, but Sol Ruka, I don't know. I know she's been popping up on Raw and SmackDown these last few weeks.
Yeah, we're starting to sprinkle
I think we're about to.
I
mean, I know they've technically signed Trick. They technically now, I think Javon is now got leveled up. Obafemi looks like he's doing it, and I think that we're seeing way earlier than normal. Normally they wait till like after Mania, but I think that there's a logjam. Honestly, there's just a bottleneck at NXT of talent that are beyond season. They've just been waiting for spots, and I think Sol Ruka is a prime example of someone who is going to skyrocket as soon as the broader wrestling audience gets a chance to see her. That is actually the entire story for my runner-up last year. And this year she made good on that. But Tiffany Stratton, what a year it was for her. She began the year by winning the WWE Women's Championship in January by cashing in her Money in the Bank contract. She didn't suffer her first loss of 2025 until October when she dropped the title to Stephanie Vaquer. It was kind of a quiet last couple of months, so it's kind of easy to forget that, Tiffany had such a strong first 8-9 months of the year. But it doesn't take away from the fact that for a majority of 2025, she dominated the main women's roster in WWE.
Yes. Tiffy time indeed.
Tiffy time all the time. Let's see if she gets back in the swing of things for 2026. She must be on a little, I mean, she's just really kind of taking a back seat these last few months. Catching her breath, I'm sure. 2025's Female Performer of the Year, Doug, for yourself. Who's your choice for best women's wrestler?
For me, there could be no other than Stephanie Vaquer. Vaquer. Yeah, I think I'm saying that right. I say it wrong every time. I say it different and wrong every time I say it. So.
In your defense, WWE will go Vaquer or Vaquer. They do both. I do think they do Vaquer more often. I don't know which is correct, but however you pronounce it, that's a great choice.
The master of the devil's kiss. How about that? Or the mistress of the devil's kiss, I guess, is more appropriate.
It was, I mean, again, June, dude. She wasn't on the main roster until June, and it feels like it was the year of Stephanie Vaquer, and she was only there for the last 6 months. I'm going to make you mad with my choice.
It better not be Nia Jax.
I won't make you that mad. I know I said that with my runner-up that Tiffany Stratton dominated WWE. Mercedes Moné dominated everywhere else.
Oh, come on.
I know we've criticized that some of those titles were unknown and meant very little, and they're regional promotions, but I like the belt collector gimmick, and that's usually a male gimmick that, your Kenny Omegas and folks get to have. You don't see it as often with females. And if you look beyond just the gimmick and the indie titles, she she dominated not just AEW, but she also had
Mhm,
dominant runs in New Japan and CMLL. So those are
mhm.
majors. I know that Sports Illustrated selected Monet as their wrestler of the year, and I have to say that I am in agreement. I felt like there's just not too many people that had a better year than Mercedes Monet.
Yeah, I will
I told you
begrudgingly
I was
say
going to make you
she
mad.
does she had a good year.
Yeah.
I don't know if how quality that year was, but yes, it was a good year.
It's
Yeah.
no Nia Jax, I know.
Fair enough.
Let's go to the male side of the ledger
Man, man, man.
for runner up.
Man, I I I gotta say, Hangman had a great redemption arc this year. I mean, it was really the perfect wrestling redemption arc. I think that could be told in professional wrestling. I think AEW did a really good job with what Hangman did there, and just that whole arc to get him, to get that Batman to his Joker, and so for that, he's my runner up.
So we haven't had as many crossover as we've had in some years. So I'm happy to say that this is one that I don't have to just comment on your choice because that's my choice for runner up as well. My opinion of Hangman Page has just evolved through the
Yes,
years.
same.
He went from just being that other guy in the elite
In the elite. Yes, he
to
really did.
becoming one
Yeah.
of AEW's biggest stars and a legit main eventer. He can wrestle
Mhm,
a variety of styles
mhm,
and had memorable storylines and matches all year long, whether it was with long term rival Swerve Strickland and Samoa Joe.
mhm,
But I think perhaps what really cemented it was what you said, that redemption arc, that memorable feud he had this year with John Moxley that culminated in that emotional world title win at AEW's biggest show, their WrestleMania, essentially, with All In Texas. And it's Hangman standing tall and giving everyone the feels. And man, yeah, Hangman
mhm.
Page, I'm kind of feel bad I ever doubted him as,
Same,
being the guy.
same.
You could even look that he's, I mean, yes, he had a Ring of Honor run, and that's kind of where I first saw him. But you could definitely
Mhm,
argue that when it comes to mainstream wrestling, that Hangman could be maybe the most successful, along with MJF, um,
mhm.
homegrown talent that AEW
Oh, absolutely.
has
Yeah.
produced.
Yeah.
I like that choice. Like that choice. I share that choice. How about for the let's drum roll male
Well, let me
performer of the
just say
year?
Batman can't be Batman without a Joker. And Hangman's Joker was Mox. And, love him or hate him. And I find myself always complaining about his ridiculous blood and guts death matches and nonsense like that. But Mox is my not just because of his wrestling, but because of the loyalty the man has to the company that I mean, he has been for years and years and years. In case of trouble, Tony Khan goes and breaks the glass and breaks out to John Moxley. That's just what he does. And Mox is always there. Mox, had to become this despicable villain and had to go through this major, major vile villain arc to be the Joker for Hangman's Batman to finally defeat at All In Texas. So it takes two to dance, and I think these two just married it together perfectly in 2025 to culminate in that All In handoff. Even though it was Mox handing off to Hangman, you had to have that. And in this case, I don't want to say the villain was greater than the hero, but it was at least equal to. And you needed the redemption arc of Hangman, but Hangman had to have somebody to defeat. He had to have that Joker for his Batman to take down. And Hangman was that. And for that, or I'm sorry, Mox was that. And for that, Mox is my man of the year.
It's funny. Moxley, despite being a big star, I think is someone who's kind of easy to take for granted as well. for the reasons you just said, that sometimes you can dismiss him as a deathmatch wrestler, and
Mhm.
there's actually when he chooses to show more, there's more there.
Yeah.
And I actually liked I loved everything you said, but I think I even might prefer the back end of his 2025 when he
Mhm.
actually looked vulnerable. Like as soon as he
Right.
lost the title, I mean, Moxley just never lost in AEW, and then suddenly he
Mhm.
couldn't win a match. And then to somehow turn that losing streak against lesser talent that he was putting over, willingly putting over,
Right.
and culminate that into like a month-long run and the Continental Classic that, gets him back to level ground. I thought that was a
Mhm.
cool story and a good use of John Moxley.
Yes.
And I really liked that. And he did have a good year. I'm going to give my male performer of the year, though, to someone else who had a very good year. And don't double check your calendars because it is, in fact, 2026, despite my naming the Hardys my tag team of the year and now selecting John Cena as my male wrestler of the year.
Yes, it was so hard for me not to do.
And
It
I
was so
get it,
hard.
man. John is not
It was.
a 5-star match wrestler. But I mean, John didn't do the traditional light schedule or, hey,
Right.
it's Mania season and I'll do this short run. And you'll
Mhm.
see that out of a lot of legends. John Cena, Peacemaker, a guy who's really doing pretty well in Dollywood, came back and did a pretty full come see me one last time run. You could argue
Mhm.
that this was the most successful retirement tour ever concocted in a marketing meeting. I know I mentioned that as one of my top stories earlier with my stories of the year, but this whole the last time in fill in the blank created storylines and cash all year long in WWE. It was not perfect. I mentioned that earlier too. They botched what was, I still say that is the
Mhm.
most shocking heel turn in wrestling
Yes.
history. It was not his fault. It was more on The Rock and WWE, and that it didn't have a good payoff. And yes, there's no getting around that WrestleMania main event was pretty bad, but
Mhm.
Cena made up for it with a SummerSlam rematch with Cody that was really good. He got better as the rust came off. He wrestled really good matches against the generation that came right after him, putting the shine on guys like Kevin Steen and Sami Zayn. He even had memorable matches with some rewinds when he had CM Punk and Randy Orton in that
Mhm.
roster of let's do this one last time. His
Was
best
time.
match though,
Mhm.
and I think one of those turn back the clock performances was against AJ Styles. Holy crap, how good
Yes.
was that match? And then he
Yes.
reached not just, I know Kevin and Sammy are not young guys, but let's go back to like even 2 generations of wrestling behind him. Cena helped cement Dominic as wrestler of the future. He
Mhm.
took a guy like Gunther and chose him as his last opponent, put them both over along the way. Uh, During this, he also managed to, let's not forget, no small thing, he became world champion again, setting the record for the most all time world title reigns. It was Cena's year in 2025, and there was not a whole lot
Mhm.
outside of his control, anyway, that I would complain about it. He dominated the storylines, dominated the pay per view main events, and for the most part, delivered in his role. John Cena, heck of a year. We see you, John.
Yeah, we do see you indeed.
Doug, this is always, I think, for most wrestling fans, the most contentious thing to ever talk about. And that is match of the year. Everyone wants to talk, right from the beginning of Wrestle Kingdom in January when, like, oh man, that's a match of the year candidate. Because we love this so much, it really does come down to those moments in the ring. This one was always going to be hard for us. Who do you have in that runner-up slot?
So this is interesting because I compiled the top 10 matches of the year by ranking just to
Uh,
just to see where mine fell. And neither one of
to see if
mine
you had
were
a
in the top 10.
real. That's
Really.
good, man. That shows though that
You know,
sometimes it's not about like the star ratings. It is how a match makes
it's
you
really
feel.
not. I mean, it is pretty interesting because like you're talking about, I see I did some research and pulled the Sports Illustrated pulling Monet and Hangman as their wrestlers of the year and everything. But then compiling with like Cage Match, Sports Illustrated, and like all these other rankings, my top two not even here.
Not on
So
there.
not on there. I mean, and you just mentioned one of them. I mean,
Oh,
with AJ and John Cena, that is my runner up because that was what wrestling is. It was fun. It was a spot fest. I popped. It wasn't just, and I know it wasn't just me that was popping. It was everybody who's ever watched wrestling was popping for that match. Especially when they run through all the greatest hits, and then to see moments where Cena hits Sister Abigail and then he's in the corner and then all the fireflies come out. Come on, man. Come on.
It is sometimes about more than star ratings. It truly is how it makes you feel. And if you watch wrestling at all of the last few decades and watch that match and didn't feel something,
right.
You're no longer a fan. You're dead inside. Sorry to tell you.
You were dead inside. See a therapist or meet me at the Walmart parking lot. Come on.
Doug's determined to fight at the Walmart tonight. So if anyone wants, after the show, disagrees with these choices, you know where he's going to be.
I'll be waiting.
I'm going AEW's Revolution for my runner-up because it wasn't just one of the most brutal matches in women's wrestling history. It was one of the best matches and more brutal matches that you will see in any year by male or female. Further elevated by the fact that it represented the blow-off to a storyline that had gone on for more than a year. Toni Storm, Mariah May, just a great payoff and a rare example, if I have to say, of AEW's Tony Khan keeping his eye on long-range storytelling, which he's not always the best at. This was a good example of him paying off a story that had been built over a long period of time, ending in a gruesome brutal blow-off match that both women worked their butts off to make.
Actually, I think that would rank here. Toni Storm, Mariah May, number 5 on the list. Yeah,
it's a great one, man. It's a great one.
It is absolutely. So interestingly enough, mine is also a female AEW match.
Yeah.
It's a much larger match, and I know I always say this. I don't like these kind of like death match Moxley, garbage matches, but my God, let's talk about that female blood and guts match one last time.
I know.
I mean, I'm sure poor Sky Blue is still somewhere bleeding right now. just Crimson Mask still going on with the girl. That was. And in comparison, when you see War Games for the WWE's female,
it was sanitized, so weak and sanitized.
I feel like I'm watching like a Legos version of wrestling all of a sudden after seeing what those girls just went through. I mean, I have got to give it one last time to those girls for all they did in that match to entertain me. This grumpy, bald 52-year-old Mark. It has to be my match of the year, and I can say, I mean, there's other matches that may have higher star ratings, but and been on a lot of other people's radars. But for me, just one last time, let's talk about that. It was just such a great, entertaining match that I have to call it my match of the year.
I know it came late in the year, but you're not suffering from recency bias. That match was all I could do to not have it in my equation somewhere as well. I enjoyed it that much. I think it goes to show, though, just how strong women's wrestling is right now because look at how many spots
for us.
Here's my thing. My match of the year, WrestleMania 2025 had its ups and downs over those 2 nights, but night 2 began with a match that stole the entire weekend, and it was my favorite match of the year. Io Sky, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, 3 of the best in-ring performers, male or female, in wrestling on the biggest stage, saying, hey, hold my beer to anything that came afterwards. It actually is both nights that could hold the beer of this match. The story going in was great. The story of Io being the third wheel to these
Yep.
larger, powerful women, despite Io being the surprise champ. Um, you know, the three tore into each other. They tore the roof off of Allegiant Stadium. Io was making sure that the two larger folk could not take her for granted and made her presence felt. It got the crowd behind her squarely. Actually, the crowd was really behind all three women because
Oh,
they
yeah.
truly understood that they were watching something special. Everything worked in this one. It was my favorite match of 2025.
Yeah, it definitely worked. Those are, I mean, and again, I think that just goes to show what phenomenal women's wrestling we have at our fingertips right
Yeah.
now, and what great female wrestling we're going to be seeing, and really what great wrestling we're going to be seeing in the next year in 2026.
Oh, Doug, you and your great segues. We've handed out a lot of awards. We want to hear what you think about our runners up and our winners, but it is not just about 2025. Yes, this is the sixth annual, believe it or not, Doug, sixth annual Two Bros Wrestling Award Show. But we always end this show by not looking back. We look forward. We go bold predictions for the upcoming year. 2026, Doug. We don't know what it's going to have in store, but we got some good guesses. What is your thought? What
So
should
I
we
always
look
like
for?
I always like to go with the return of Keith Lee and him showing up being just fit and vicious, but I don't think
Wouldn't it
it's
be
going to
great?
happen. It would be great, but it didn't happen for us in 25. So here's one I think is a bit safer though. With Dom and his whatever shoulder issues going on, he could be out for a while. I think best case scenario, it's probably late 26 when he comes back, if it's as severe as it sounds. However, when Dom comes back, Dom is coming back as a straight up Eddie Guerrero, lie, cheat, and steal baby face that WWE has been trying to steer him away from for what, a year now anyway.
And the
When
crowd
Dom
still go
comes
for
back,
it. Yeah.
when Dom comes back, he is going to be nothing but a baby face and the top baby face in WWE. That kid will get a rocket strapped to him, and the moon will just be in his way as he shoots right past it. There's a bold but safe prediction, I think.
I mean, I'm not going to argue that one. I definitely could see that happening as being something that is very likely for 2026. This next one, maybe some folks might think is not so bold either, just because it may also happen. But I think 2026 is the year that Vince McMahon will die.
Whoa, dude! Wow!
Oh no! Here's the twist,
Oh,
and he will go to heaven. That's the bold prediction.
wow! That's got to be the
Apparently
thumbnail.
he stuffed the board full of sycophants, and it's going to be a proxy vote where they like get rid of the guys that would keep him out. And he's going to make it into heaven. No, okay. My serious prediction. Sorry, it could happen though. I mean, the man is in his 80s. I'm just saying. But the last part, no, that's not going to happen. My serious prediction is probably also not as bold as it would have seemed a year ago, and it's shocking to say it, but seriously, TNA is going to continue its momentum. They're going to maximize their new TV slot on AMC, and they're going to also maximize the relationship they have with WWE to do so. By the end of the year, man, TNA Thursday Night Impact, I think is going to have higher ratings than AEW Dynamite.
Man, that one hits me in the hurts, right? But I think it's a very reasonable, like mine. Dom coming back as a top baby face. It's safe.
Yeah.
I think it's very viable. It's a very viable prediction. It could happen.
when we do this show again a year from now, we will look back and see how right, how easy, or how terribly off the mark we were with these predictions and choices. But I do see that any of what we just talked about, other than Vince McMahon going to heaven, happening. Oh, and with that, gosh, it is again, we do appreciate you tuning in. If it is your first time because you wanted to hear about the year that was 2025 and you just like these types of best of shows, we hope that you would come back. Our normal format is that we have a topic every week. You see what we have upcoming. And then at the end, we do a little bit of best ofs and we talk about the best of the week, as well as go over the news and everything that is going on in the world of professional wrestling. We will get back to that in our next episode. But Doug, the TNA that we just talked about is about to have the biggest, the most important month in quite some time for the little promotion that could. We're going to kick it off with 2 weeks of TNA coverage. We're going to talk about the little promotion that could. Yeah, including naming what in our mind are the biggest stars in wrestling that owe TNA to their legacy. We'll do that as a setup because there's a lot of good choices there that you might not remember that it was TNA where they made their bread and butter. But we're going to do that, and then we'll come back the following week, which will be right after their premiere, and we'll do some hot takes on what we thought of the TNA show when it goes live on the 15th, I believe it is, that Thursday in January. We are live on Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube, the next day on demand on our Facebook channel, as well as obviously on YouTube. We hope that you will come back and join us. Doug, this was always fun. Appreciate you always, doing this with me every year. And, I'm surprised the tux still fits. We'll see if it does next year or not. But this was great. 2025 was a great year. Let's see what 2026 has in store.
Let's see. Can't wait. Until then, hey, go watch some wrestling. Thanks, everybody.